Hey guys, welcome to month 2 of my custom vertical jump program. Month 1 saw me gain 2 centimeters on my counter movement jump. I'm currently unable to test my running vert, but I'm happy to say as a baseline that it's around 72 centimeters. For anyone wanting to follow along in more detail, I've put a link to my training journal and you can see things like the weight I'm using for the gym exercises and my best vert each week. There's also a link to the spreadsheet with the monthly layout and a tab for the month I'm currently on. Let's kick things off with my Monday and Thursday session, the technical jumping day. This is mostly the same as month 1, so I'll only talk about the changes I've made. The dynamic warm-up is the same, taken from Freak Jump Technique 3, as are the first 2 drills and the leg lifts from Kadura Zayani. That program has 2 more drills, which I've now introduced. Firstly, a wall drill to work on rapid descent. You position yourself a foot from the wall and drop quickly so your bum makes contact. The second drill was an arm drill, but I subbed in a different one that a high jump coach once showed me that demonstrated how much the arms contribute to jumping power. You sit straight-legged and do a double arm swing with the goal of getting some brief air time purely from your arm drive. I kept the technical drills the same. At first I was desperate to do longer run-ups, but on reflection this is really where I can refine technique and ingrain the correct movement pattern, so it may actually be better for me that I don't have access to a court. Moving on to the weights and plyometrics days, again Tuesday and Friday are similar enough to talk you through both at once. I considered hip thrusts for the glutes, but I opted for a banded pull through. I want to say it was Tyler from Project Pure Athlete who was doing these, but they were also in Vert Code Elite and I put it in as a form of glute activation. Then tuck jumps as promised. I first came across these in the context of jumping during Vert Shock. They're pretty much the same as hurdle hops, but without the forward motion. Patrick step-ups, these have really come along, and having started with the bar, I can now do 15 reps with 60 kilos. Knees over toes guy talks about strength standards, and I think it's body weight on the bar for this one, so I'm only 10 kilos away. The ATG split squat also rose from just the bar to 40 kilos. They really light up my quads, so I cut it to 2 sets, and I see it as somewhere between a warm-up and a main lift. Tuesdays are then depth jumps. The literature has this down as pretty much the exercise for vertical gains. I have a whole separate video on them. It's not a case of the higher the drop the better. At some point your body can't handle absorbing the impact and reversing the direction of the force to get off the ground quickly enough. I set up where I counter movement jump so I could measure, and I was jumping about the same height off a bench as I can from the floor. Ideally you'd want to be jumping higher. They are tough on the central nervous system, so you can't program them year round, and I chose 4 sets of 4 once a week, and I'll take them out next month. We'll stick with Tuesday. Up next is front squats. I'd only just got in the groove of doing these last month, so I kept them around again. I dropped the weight a bit and wanted to work on maximal intent. In sports science they talk about trying to move the bar as fast as possible being key, regardless of the speed it actually moves. I had to go heavy enough so it didn't leave my shoulders too much at the top, which was about 65 kilos. Then Tuesdays finish off with Nordic curls, the same as last month. On the Friday, I was doing weighted jumps with a hex bar. This is like a power clean for people who can't power clean. If you're not being taught the Olympic lifts, then this is a really good option. I spent 3 weeks using 40 kilos, based on the whole idea that 25 to 30% of your 1 rep max is the best option for developing power. I then found an article by Brett Contreras who was arguing that and said that A, it depends on the exercise, and B, for squat jumps it was close to unweighted that produced the highest peak force. Then Mike Boyle posted about the exact same thing, and he was suggesting a weight that still allows you to jump at least 70% of your maximal unweighted vert. Funnily enough, I did a video on weighted jumps this month, and with 10 kilos attached I still jumped 45 centimeters, 75% of my best. For that reason, my training journal has 40 kilos written in it, but in this spreadsheet linked below, I've used Mike Boyle's guidelines, which would have meant me using maybe 6 kilo dumbbells. Next, I have single leg box jumps, or in this case, bench jumps. At least 3 vertical jump programs I've read have these in, and again, VertShock includes a few sets of 8. Then to finish, some RDL, lowering quite slowly, then faster up. I remember an article by the guy who coached Doc Patton, the 200 meter runner, and his training was split into hip dominant and knee dominant exercises. So I always consider hitting both, and for my hamstrings that means doing RDL, a hip dominant move, instead of Nordic curls, which is knee dominant. My mobility session is the same, but I don't have any cardio. So I put in 4 lots of 500 meters on the rowing machine with 2 minutes rest, and that warms me up quite nicely before stretching. One thing this month lacks is a way to measure my progress, but maybe it is better for me to just get my head down and focus on executing the exercises properly instead of fretting about setting training PBs. Next month would have seen me try to introduce some sprints or bounds, but with the local track closed, it's going to have to be more plyometrics exercises that I can do in the gym. I'm only 1 week into month 3, so the next video, the sessions will have been tweaked based on advice from the comment section in this video and from the one last month. I don't want this to go on indefinitely, so I'm probably going to stop at either 4 or 6 months and then go back round to the beginning and refine it further. Thank you for watching.